If they were to rock up in a proper combat loadout, I would confidently say we could clean them up. Super Hornets, F-22, A-10, I've fought them all.
Hey guys, B Snappy here. I'm here with Didge and he's a fighter pilot for the F-35 in the Royal Australian Air Force. Hey
Absolutely.
Didge.
Hey B Snappy, how you doing?
I'm good. So what's the training like on the F-35? How long did it take from when you just joined the Air Force to becoming an F-35 pilot?
Well, it varies, but I would say on average the timeline is about 2.5 to 3 years from rocking up to day one of flight school to then ending up in a frontline fighter jet like the F-35.
Yeah.
I was pretty lucky. I did it almost as quick as you can do it. I think I started in 2016 and I was flying back then the F-18A Classic Hornet by the end of 2018.
Right, so how does the selection process work for the F-35? Do you get to pick, do you have to fill out an application, do they pick you?
I'm probably get a bit of shade for this, but I joined up initially wanting to fly the F-111. I'm from Brisbane and saw the dump and burn at Riverfire.
Yeah.
And how you get selected is once you complete the initial pilot training components, if you graduate with the right scores, you'll get funneled into the jet pipeline.
Yeah.
The jet pipeline takes about 9 months. When you finish that, you then have 3 options to go to, and they're the 3 jets that are behind us. So
yeah.
One of those is F-35, one of those is Growler, and the other is Super Hornet. Based on your personality, your preference comes into it at this point because it's a pretty narrow pool, and obviously your scores on course, that shapes where you end up. So I was fortunate enough, I was a lot of right place, right time, but ended up falling into the front seat of one of these guys.
Alright, so I've noticed there's no 2-seat F-35s. How did you feel when you went straight from a simulator to going straight into a cockpit and solo?
It was pretty awesome actually. It's always a bit nerve-wracking, but you do a ton of sims for emergency management, handling of the aircraft, so you do plenty of time in the sim before you go. I was lucky that I'd already flown a fighter jet prior to that, and I did a bunch of training in America in the sims there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the first flight in this, plugging in the afterburner for the first go was awesome.
Yeah, I would imagine. Did you sleep the night before?
I like to think I did, yeah. Yeah, we'll say that.
So what happens on the first flight? Do you have like an instructor following you in another F-35 behind, or?
Yeah, ironically that's my job now. I'm a F-35 instructor pilot, so for the students' first flight, obviously there's no family model, so it's just them by themselves, and we will take off and we will fly essentially right next to them, and we'll just back up their decision making, getting to and from the airfield, and then there's not exactly a whole lot that we can do, but we can at least tell them ideally, like, hey, you're not landing on the runway, or you're gonna go into the underrun, and we can back them up with any of the processes that they have to get through.
On the first flight, when you're coming in to land for the first time, is it the same as a simulator?
The simulator's pretty good, but landing is one of those things where you just need to experience it live. So it feels a little bit different. In the simulator, you feel like you're a little bit higher and whatnot, but after 1 or 2 landings, you get the hang of it, and hopefully you don't put it down in the underrun. And
did you butter your first landing?
It was in America, and I was one of 7 people, and I got it on the runway, so yeah.
So that's interesting. Did you actually do your training in America, but you're in the Australian RAAF?
Yeah, that's correct. So we now do all of our training in Australia, but in 2020, I went and lived in Arizona for what felt like forever, for 6 months or so, and we learnt to fly F-35 there at the 61st Fighter Squadron.
All right, so what's your favourite feature of the F-35 if you only had one feature you could use?
It's a bit of an all-encompassing answer, but I think the way the cockpit is set out with the massive screens and the way that the screens deliver information to the pilot, way better than what would be considered a steam-driven Hornet from the 70s. It is very easy to just look at the screens. It's almost like a computer game with the interface, and if you've played computer games, I'm sure you'd be fine in this thing. Very easy to make targets, drop weapons, shoot weapons, etc. Way simpler than other airframes.
So if there was an emergency or you guys got a call, how fast can you get from the base into the air?
I guess that would depend. So on a standard training sortie, we would use about 60 minutes from step to takeoff. In an emergency, depending on pilot currency and proficiency, I reckon you could get this thing in the air in about 25 minutes from step to takeoff.
Right, so quite often I'll see the Wedgetail go and then the F-35s will follow. What are you guys doing out there? Are you guys dogfighting, or?
If the Wedgetail's out there doing mission support for us, then it's probably a more complex beyond visual range mission. So generally we'll have a dedicated red team. They will go out and pretend to be the bad guys, and then Blue Air will take off, set up wherever they need to set up, and then we'll do some integrated missions where hopefully Blue Air are able to beat Red Air. But we do plenty of dogfighting with the F-35. It's probably fairly boring for the Wedgetail to watch us just turn in circles all the time, but yeah, absolutely. We do dogfighting with the Super Hornets, F-22, A-10. I've fought them all. Depends how cheeky they're being. If they were to rock up in a proper combat loadout, I would confidently say we could clean them up. Generally, they'll rock up with a single centerline tank and nothing hanging off the wings. So the Super Hornet is a very agile aircraft. So when you do get them, it's pretty enjoyable.
All right, so these are two 5th generation fighters I'm about to talk about, the F-22 and the F-35.
Yeah.
If you had to verse each other, who would win?
I have fought F-22 before. As an air supremacy fighter, it is a handful to fight, and it is almost like out of Top Gun. You don't even know what they're doing. Very, very difficult to fight 1v1. I have successfully fought them 2v1 plenty of times, so if you've got someone to come in while you distract them, you can get them.
Yeah. All right. One last question. What did it feel like when you hit the thrust for the first time taking off?
For the first time, I was shocked by how much power came out of the back. There's a slight bit of movement in the seat as well. So selecting afterburner, you can hear and feel the engine spool up, and then once the afterburner lights off essentially, the jet will kick you into the back of the seat moves ever so slightly, and you're essentially pinned to the seat for the first couple of seconds through the acceleration. It's awesome.
All right, Didge, thank you for your time. Thanks for protecting Australia.
No worries.
And I'll see you next time.
Lovely, nice to meet you.
See ya.